right, welcome everybody. It's Chris Petrie. Thanks for coming by. We're actually having a great time here. We're going to be painting a beautiful farmhouse on some farm property here. We're going to cover all the details of this painting. We're going to start out with a beautiful sketch, and then from there we'll start to create a painting using the alla prima method, which is painting everything at one time, starting out with the darks. So we'll start out with all the windows and the doors of this structure, of this beautiful farmhouse, and we're going to cover all of the details you need to get all of this painting completed. We'll also cover some different things with drawing on this painting. We're working from a photograph. You'll see this photograph on the camera at all times. When you're watching the video, you're going to see this actual photograph up on the side of the a video while we're doing this, so that you can kind of reference this as you go. We cover too how you can draw some angular lines to kind of help get you a better read on these lines that are in the painting. You know, you can kind of see there's some angles here, and we'll cover how you're going to do that when you're doing your drawing. So everything is going to be covered here on this video. I'm thanking you for stopping by. If it's your first time here, welcome. You're at the right place at the right time. Starting with watercolors, there's no reason why you can't start with a painting like this. If you're just starting out in watercolor, you know, if you're more advanced, obviously it's a little more simple to work with a painting like this, but it doesn't matter whether you're just starting out or you've been painting for a while. We're going to cover all the details you need to create this painting. We're going to have a fun time doing it, and we're using a limited palette too. So we're going to cover how you can use this limited palette with 3 colors: burnt umber, cerulean blue, and also some sap green. So we're using basically only 3 colors here: burnt umber, cerulean blue, sap green. And you can get this same look to your paintings by just using 3 colors. Simple as that. No need to have to worry about 25 colors in your palette. We'll cover all this and more on this video, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. All right, welcome everyone. Chris Petrie here. Thanks so much for coming by. We're having a fun time in the studio. I'm just putting some things together here. I actually got a gift box from Kate L. She's one of our YouTube artists, our watercolor artists that we all get together every week, obviously, and she's always drawing and painting in watercolor with us. I've known her for a long time. She emails me. We email quite often back and forth over the years. And she sent me a large gift box of a whole bunch of goodies: watercolor paper, all kinds of interesting pens, pencils, markers, coffee. She knows I love coffee, so I have my Lumina Acres coffee she sent me. It's called Homestead Sunrise Blend, and I can tell you it is just absolutely delicious. This coffee is really this is the best coffee I think I've ever had. It is really incredible. It's, I think, from Vermont. They make this in Vermont. But Lumina Acres, I can tell you and vouch for that great coffee. And we're going to try out some new paper. She said this paper is really good. She said the paint floats for a while on the paper and then it soaks into the paper. So I've never tried this paper. It's called Indigo Art Papers, and it's handmade watercolor paper, 100% cotton. And it's 140 pound, 300 GSM, which is kind of like our normal paper we would tend to use, like when we use Arches or Fabriano. That's usually always 140, 300. And these are 9x12 sheets, and this is a really beautiful wire-bound sketchbook. So I'm excited to try it out. We're going to do some swatches and maybe a painting too. So let's open the package here. It's this is really nicely packaged. It's got like a sealed plastic end on it, and then you can just remove it like so. Like that. And we'll just you could put that there. And I like to tape my sketchbooks down to my table so that it doesn't move around. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm just going to take some masking tape and tape down my new sketchbook from Kate. Okay, so we have that set over there on the right hand side, and maybe I'll do 2 more, maybe one on top, one on bottom. and one on the side. Okay, there, and one more. Okay, so we have everything taped down nicely. I'm going to grab my palette and some brushes. All right, so I'm going to take a quick break now just so this is a spur of the moment, so I have to grab some brushes and my palette. My palette's in my mini fridge. Keeps cool in there. And be right back. All right, so I have my palette here. We'll set that down over here. And I'll tape this down as well. Just a quick... And this is incidentally, this is how I set up my YouTube videos all the time. I'll always try to kind of set everything into my frame of my camera, my video camera, and then start taping everything down so nothing slides around while we're videoing the tutorial. And then we are all set now. We have everything taped down, the palette's taped down, the paper. And I have my brushes now here. Thank you again, Kate. We'll do some swatches to start out with. So this is, whenever I've tried new paper in the past, coming up through the ranks, I would always, do some swatches and just have some fun putting some paint and water and paint on the paper. See how it reacts. And just kind of, take my time. So what I'll do is I'll draw a couple of swatches on here. Like that. And I'll probably... I'll do some cerulean blue. Kate also sent me some cerulean blue and burnt umber. I use that a lot, actually. That's probably one of my two most those are two colors I do use a lot of it constantly. It's really like cerulean is my favorite blue out of all of these blues here. And burnt umber is a beautiful earth tone, which I really enjoy. So I'm going to make the first swatch. And it creates a beautiful gray, those two colors together. That looks great, beautiful coloration there. And a lot of times when I mix colors, when I'm doing swatches, I always have my tissue here and I rinse the brush off, check off a little bit of water. Maybe we'll go with a little more blue. That was about half and half. That was half burnt umber, half cerulean blue. And now we'll go in with some mostly probably 3/4 cerulean blue, 1/4 burnt umber. And that looks really gorgeous. That almost looks like some blue jeans, some faded blue jeans. Kind of a nice color with that. And then let's do maybe a little more burnt umber and a little bit less cerulean. I might need a little more blue. That looks really good, a nice beautiful earth tone there. And then we can have fun. We can actually, let's create a lighter tonal value underneath of the same color ratios. So far, this paper is really phenomenal to work on. I wish I had learned about this sooner. And half cerulean blue, half burnt umber. Then I'll take that, put it over here, and then add some fresh clean water to it to give us that lighter. Might need a touch more of the blue there. Good, that looks good too, and it's a little bit, the tonal value is lightening up for us. And then let's just, let's work with the flow of things here. Let's do one more here by just, again, adding more water to this. Okay, so we're successfully getting lighter in tonal value as we go, and we're using the same paint mixture, which would be like half burnt umber, half cerulean blue, going this way. Then let's create the same process here. This paper is really great to work on, wow. All right, now we're going to go with the mostly cerulean blue, like 3/4 cerulean blue, 1/4 burnt umber. I'll take some paper towel over here, and I'll just try to do the same method. We take that mixture we just made of the mostly cerulean blue, a little bit of burnt umber, and put that medium tonal value there, and we'll go with a light one too. And then all we have to do is just take our brush, rinse it off, get a little more water, and just create this really light wash by adding some water to it, to the same mixture that we just mixed for the medium tonal value there. And there we have it. And then we'll use the same process again. We're going to use 3/4 burnt umber, 1/4 cerulean blue, sometimes you might have to mix a little bit, lift up a little bit to try to get it a little more accurate. That looks about right. 3/4 burnt umber, 1/4 cerulean blue. Maybe a touch more of the cerulean blue. Okay, looks great. And then we rinse off the brush and just blend in some extra additional clean water with this to get our final. We'll just create our swatch again here. Our square. Wow, that looks really great. I could see this being like perfect for landscape paintings, seascape paintings too. Like this is kind of your like all-purpose two great colors you could use for your paintings. You could almost probably use these two colors and create a lot of paintings without even having to use much any other colors. That would be something like Andrew Wyeth, the great painter, watercolor painter, Andrew Wyeth. He loved to work with earth tones, the browns, the golds, blues, kind of mix of those. He would be, I know his style of painting is probably he could just work with those two tubes of paint, the cerulean blue and burnt umber, and be happy. All right, so we've had some fun so far. This is great. The paper's working fantastic. We'll start a painting next, and I think we'll use these two colors in our painting. Let's try to use just the cerulean blue and burnt umber. Maybe we'll add something else, maybe a touch of green, I would think. Maybe we could use some green with it to make like a really nice landscape painting. Maybe like a beautiful farm scene. And we'll just take our time mixing the colors. We'll do a really good drawing of a farm type scene just in a few seconds here. We'll go fast though. We're not going to take a ton of time here. We'll kind of just want to showcase the paper, this beautiful 100% cotton paper, indigo paper that Kate sent me in a great gift package. Thank you, Kate, again. So, all right, while I'm off camera, I'll get a new sheet of paper started. I'll set it all up, and then when we come back, we'll have a new sheet of paper all set up, ready to go, and then we'll just do a quick drawing of a farm scene, and we'll get started on that. All right, so we just set up our photograph here with our paper. So we have our sketchbook all ready to go here. We have our photograph. What I'll do is I'll just draw a rectangle here on my paper. I might zoom out actually. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit here. All right, that might be good. Let me I would be very careful with, I wouldn't use tape too much on this paper. Myself, I just learned that it tears pretty easy, so I'm going to use just a little bit of Scotch tape here, the magic tape, just to hold my photograph in place. And we're going to do just a gorgeous farmhouse here. And I'll start if I just take a casual observation of the photograph. This is about halfway. So the peak of this roof right here is pretty much halfway, so I can kind of get that point there. And it's about a third of the way up, so that's about good. Approximately 1/3 up, 2/3, 3/3, so about there is good. This is a pretty challenging angle to if I'm looking at the photograph. It looks like the eye level is almost where the porch is. That's almost like level, and then the angles start to go up like this. So you can kind of see everything starts to angle, like the roofs start to angle up this way, and they get steeper as they go. So this one is has a little bit of foreshortening and interesting angles to it, but I think we can just have fun. Let's get this first roof there. And I already noticed that this is going to be about up here. This trails down this way a little bit. And then here, this goes up on an angle a little bit this way. And then this here, that's foreshortening, so that bit of roof over here probably goes 15, 20 feet or so. But it's on an angle, so we're just going to see a little bit of that like so. Then there's another roof over here. That's almost straight vertical. So I want to make sure I just keep looking at all the lines as I go here. That's not too far up, only that much maybe. Then it comes down this way. Like that. This goes, let's take this and kind of go this way. This comes down pretty steep like that. Then if I take a look here, this bit of ridge here on the roof is about even with this, like that. Goes across, and then it goes down to there. That pretty much is on an angle going this way. A little bit of a slope that way, so this ridge of this roof over here is a little bit sloped this way. It's not quite straight, it's about a little bit of an angle there. And then over here, this is pretty much straight vertical. Then our porch roof comes out like this on a little bit of an angle, maybe not that much, but a little bit there. That kind of angles down this way and then this way across there, like so. And then this peak of this gable roof here is almost close to this right angle point there in the middle. So I'll take a look and say, all right, that's about right where it needs to be there. And like that. And I can see this roof here is, take a ruler too and just kind of see how that looks. Yeah, that's almost straight across like that. It might angle a little bit. Like that. Then I'm going to try to put in the chimney. Chimney should be a little bit above the roof line, or the peak here. Then we have I'll try to get my roof and main portion of the buildings, the house here, this farmhouse, I'll try to get most of it, like all the walls pretty much first, like this. So I'll go down here. And this is almost going to be straight across. It is coming this way a little bit, angling that way. This here is, this corner here of this house where it starts to go in underneath the awning, or underneath the shed roof here. That line is quite a bit away from here, but if you've drawn something and you think it's You can make some adjustments. I'll just erase this a little bit here. That goes in there a little bit. And then this inside here is about there. I'll put the trim boards like that, and then the posts. Approximately there. Then we have some plantings and bushes over here. This is again straight vertical, perfectly plumb vertical. And there's some more trees here, bushes. I think the bushes and trees, you can kind of just have a fun time with it, make them very loose, and then you kind of tackle it with the brush and the paint. I would say over here we can have some pine trees in the back too. So I'll put some pine trees like so. Just loosely. I put them in like so just to get an idea. And then there's more bushes over here. I think everything looks pretty good. I'll start to get in the windows and doors. And these windows and doors are going to be pretty much straight across. The tops are going to be even. So I'll just make a little bit of a pencil line across here just to make sure I kind of remember to get those. Actually, there's only two there, two windows here. And then there's another, that might be another door over here. And then over on this side. Two windows there. Another one there. So now I'm just going to start speeding up my process, and now maybe you'll see that I'm kind of going a little faster, and it might not be exactly the way the photograph looks, but I'm comfortable with doing it this way. Usually things don't work out perfect every time when we're doing a drawing. And then over here there's windows, but they're very much diminished because of the angle, so we're just going to see little dark spots of vertical lines for the windows over there. I think that's good for over there. And that's pretty much, I think, all we need. We don't have to agonize over every detail here, of course. There's another window here. We could do that there, and then another window up here. And then we have the eaves here and the soffits. All right, that's enough detail, really. Then we're just going to try to get our interesting curving driveway and beds here. So we have driveway and beds probably here. There's a stone driveway, it looks like, over here. And then we have our plantings over here. So we can leave this sort of like this and kind of just have a loose interpretation of what we're looking at here. I might leave this tree out over here on the left. I think I'm just going to leave that as is. And then what I'm going to do is take my ruler, and I'm going to get that distant field, which is about halfway. It's a little bit of a hill going up too. Maybe for purposes of our design here, I think I'll just leave it a little bit uphill, but kind of level. Sometimes doing things like on angles, like uphill and things like that, for paintings, I don't know if that works too good. So I'm going to kind of go with my instinct to say right away, I'll leave it kind of level. And that's our distant trees and bushes along here, and our fields here in the backyard of this farmhouse. I think that's good. All right. We've done a lot of pencil drawing here. We've had fun. We took our time. We just kept referencing back and forth to our drawing all the time, and we did notice that there are quite a bit of angles, so we just have to really take our time when we're drawing this and saying to ourselves, if we take a line that's level like this across our page, you can even draw lines on this if you wanted to. You could draw pencil lines across your photograph, and then you could transfer them back down here. So that's another way you could do this. You could take your drawing like this, and then maybe I can use a different color pen. You could use a red pen, and you could go across your drawing and say, okay, that's about level. So right at the bottom of the foundation of the house, that's a straight line across the paper. So that's pretty much level. And then, because where the person that took this photograph, they were lower than the house, probably lower on the driveway. So the driveway probably is going uphill to the house. So the picture is being taken from a lower vantage point, looking up. So when that happens, everything becomes, the angles change, the level lines change in the painting, perspective, I guess. And so we could take some lines like that and just kind of see how they change across like that. Like this. And then this down here starts to fan out down this way. So you can kind of just see a little bit of the effect you'd want to have is everything kind of leading up to that level mark and then going up to an angle like this. And then you can take your photograph, and as you're working, you can use this and just transfer it down and say, okay, let's say we're trying to do the angle of this roof here, the top of the shed roof, which is the top of the porch. We could just come up here and take our ruler and say, okay, it's like this, and then we could just hold the ruler the same way like here, and we just don't move it at all. We just kind of bring it down like this and drop it down, and then you have the angle pretty much. It takes a bit of a steady hand a little bit to come down this way like that, but if you kind of keep it the same way, you could also trace this. I've traced a lot too, and I still do tracing. If I have to do certain drawings that are really highly technical, I'll just take my paper, my watercolor paper, slip this underneath the paper like this, and then maybe have just a piece of clear plastic with a light underneath it, like a lamp, and then it shines up through, and I can see this underneath the watercolor paper, and then I can just trace the key lines that I would need to trace for this drawing, and then go from there. So tracing is totally fine. All the great painters all through history use tracing, so there's no reason why we can't do it. I know some people get kind of a little bit, I don't know, that some people might get a little, upset if they know someone's tracing. They might say, oh, well, you know, we need to learn to draw and not rely on tracing. But tracing, again, it's been used by everybody in the art world ever since it's been recorded history. So please feel free to trace if you need to get some angles, or take your time and try to figure something out like that. It's just totally acceptable. In any case, I kind of really started to get into this, the details of this drawing of the house here, the farmhouse. But it's always fun to do projects like this. And we're going to get right back in a second. We're going to keep using our art supplies that Kate gave us. And we'll use the burnt umber and cerulean blue. And we might add just a little bit of green, I think, to this, to get a little bit of the greens in the fields, in the grass and the trees. And you'll see it's going to really look beautiful when we're finished. So we're going to get painting in just a minute. All right, let's get to painting here. I think what I'll do is the darks first. So we'll do this painting alla prima, pretty much everything one time. I'm going to try to get in here and do the darks first. So right away I can tell the darks are going to be all the windows and doors basically. And I'm going to kind of go for a loose, abstract kind of feel to this painting. I won't go into too much detail, I don't think, with this painting. Let's see how it works out if we just sort of get things going. Cerulean blue, burnt umber. Let's try to just use cerulean blue and burnt umber to start with, and then let's add a little bit of green to it right away. So what I'll do is I'll just start mixing some greens down here. So I want to harmonize the greens with the entire painting. Maybe a little bit of yellow in there too, like this. So essentially we're going to really have a limited palette here. We're going to use cerulean blue, burnt umber, and then we just added a little bit of green into the mixture too. And I'll try to get my darks in first. So I'm just going to go right in, and I'm using a flat brush. And this really helps out when you're doing architecture like houses and buildings, cityscapes, farm scenes like this, landscapes. And I'm just going to do this. And I'm not going to worry about, we can always go in and do some white paint later on if we want to. Some white paint. To make some like sashes and things like that on the windows. But I think we can get a good result just by getting some, and we'll keep it abstract again. We're not going to go really, we'll keep the darks like that. I also noticed this side of the chimney's in shadow, so I'll get that. So essentially, I'm just looking at this right now, this painting, and I'm looking at the photograph and just saying, what looks dark? What are my darkest darks here? And then I also noticed the shadow going across here on this shed roof where the porch is. So I look and I say, where does that shadow start? There, and it goes across this way. I might lighten that up just a little tiny bit since it's a shadow. I'll try to make it a little bit cooler too, maybe some more cerulean than the mixture. And then this kind of goes back to those swatches that we did. You can also take your colors and adjust them a little bit. So I'll make more cerulean over here on this shadow, on this roof over here, like that. And if you needed to, you could always, it does look quite dark though in the photograph, so I'm going to leave that pretty dark, but I added a little more blue than burnt umber there. Then I'm going to notice there's a pretty dark shadow under this cast shadow where the house is onto this driveway area. It looks like paving, brick paving stones, brick pavers on this. So I'll take, again, the darks of burnt umber and cerulean blue. Get that good. A little bit of green too. Mixed in there, a little bit of green. Burnt umber is the darkest of all of the three colors. Green. And then I'll do that shadow. Now at this point, doing the shadow, I think I'll start shifting over to a round brush. So I'll set my flat brush over to the left here. And I'll use a round brush. This happens to be the Da Vinci travel brush here. And I can see that it goes out like that. I think this kind of painting is really just kind of keying in, doing the alla prima method and focusing on the darks and the lights of everything. So we kind of know usually the top of the windows are a little bit darker. They're getting usually a little bit of shadow underneath. Okay, so we have a pretty good feel for the darks over here. There's another bit of dark there. There's some darks under these soffits here. There's also some shadowing under these soffits here, so I'm using my round brush again. I'm going to go across like so. I usually rinse off my brush and dry off a little bit of the water on the tissue. Dry off a little bit of the water and then just continue doing the shadowing. I'd be careful not to lean into the paint. That can happen once in a while. No big deal. Just try to blot it up with a tissue or a paper towel if you do lean into your paint and make a smudge or something. But a lot of times you'll just realize your smudge is probably in an area where there's a tree or something and you won't have to worry about it. Alright, so I'm working the darks here. There's the foundation over here. Looks like that's kind of dark, so I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to look around and see what I see. And then I see looks like a barrel with some plantings in there. So I'll look at the barrel and say, where is it? It's right below these two windows. So maybe I'll put it over here. And I'll just pick up some of those darks like that. And again, it's almost just like a shape, a dark shape that we can use to have in the painting. Like that. There's going to be a shadow, cast shadow from that. Sunlight's coming from this direction across the painting. Okay, I think that's looking really good for our darks. We have, I think, our darks completed, really. A little bit of shadowing, a little more shadowing under here. Under the porch area. And then even a little bit of a lighter shadowing under that we can sort of put in. So we just use that lighter. Like when we made our swatches before, we kind of made those like 3 different tonal values, or light and darks of the swatches. Now we're just kind of using that same method where we started off with our darkest darks, the mostly paint, less, almost no water. Now we're sort of adding a little more water to our mix to give us our kind of that medium tonal value where it's a little more transparent. And we have a little more of that here too. But the sun is actually coming from behind us, so really this whole area is really in shadow, everything. And this, I happen to notice right now too as well, this paper is really incredible. It's got a great like texture to it. It's almost got like a crosshatch texture. It does have a crosshatch texture to it. So that actually gives us some texture and some like variety to our washes. And I'll put some green in there too, and maybe some of that lemony yellow over here. So again, and that's going to tend to be darker up here anyway, like that. Light's catching this wall right here a little bit. All right, that looks pretty good. So we can kind of, we squint our eyes and we look, we can see this roof is pretty light here. So I'll just add a tiny bit of light wash to this roof over here, and I kind of try to see, how light is that? That's actually very light. So I can always lift up a little bit too, just to have a little bit of wash on there. This is quite, that's like a medium value, light to medium value there on this rooftop area here. So I'll get some paint on there and then just try to mix it around and okay, so that is the medium to it's about medium tonal values now for these roofs that we're doing now, the roof shingles. Light is also catching a little bit over here. All right, now is the perfect time for a break. We've been painting quite a bit. We might take a little bit of, I would say, burnt sienna. I'll take a little bit of burnt sienna just for the chimney. Just had a little bit more reddish color to it. It's almost the same as burnt umber, really, with that blue there. So that's about the same. That's no big deal. And okay, so this is pretty much, we have most of the house painted, which is good. And at this point, We're letting the paper that has that beautiful cross-hatched texture kind of really, we're using that to the full effect. This is a great paper. Actually, I'm going to use this more often for sure. And all right, let's keep going, but let's take a quick break. Then we'll start working in some of the bushes and trees around the house, and we'll maybe work in some of these distant trees and the lawn and the grass here and the plantings. And it looks like there's some corn or some other things growing here. This is a farmhouse, so there's probably some corn growing and other crops they have along the property. And we'll do a little bit of detail maybe to the front here, but we'll keep that very minimal. We're just going to try to keep this kind of like a vignette, let's say. But we'll keep this vignette, this painting in a sense. We're not going to work every detail out from this house. We're going to kind of leave the house as the perfect kind of like focal point of the composition, and the rest of the things are just going to, around the house, are kind of just going to give us, you know, a little bit more information, and then from there it'll just kind of fade out into the rest of the borders of the frame of this, of our composition here. All right, so I will take a quick break. Hopefully you will take a quick break too as well. We're going to have some coffee. So I'm having my Homestead Sunrise blend. And let's keep going. We're just going to take a quick break for a second, and then we'll come right back. All right, so we're going to continue, and I'll move my photograph over here now. And I'll use my round brush, and I think I'll go with the green, same mixture, of course, cerulean blue, burnt umber, and sap green. And I'll just work on some of these pine trees. I'll do them kind of quickly. I just kind of know the shapes of them. At the tops of the pine trees, sometimes you'll have those angles going upwards, like on a 45-degree angle this way and this way. And then as the tree, lower in the tree, the branches are kind of level. They're level for the most part, like so. And the same thing here. And I just do a couple random bits of brush work there. And a lot of times just doing a little bit of random things like this helps a lot. Then we have some bushes over here. I'll maybe just use some circular patterns like this. Maybe some splashes. A little bit of finger tapping with the paint, finger painting a little bit there, just to get some marks on the paper. Again, we're going to kind of vignette this. We don't want to have too much details here. And then some more circular patterns like so. A little bit of water just tapped on, splashed on there a little bit. And I might level that off there a little bit like so. I think that's good. And then a little more splashing there. A little bit of circular, I think I'm just doing 360 kind of circular motion there on the brush. Then there might be some branches. little bit of water splashed on there, and we're a couple more splashes there. A couple of darks. A little bit of green and burnt umber. I might just add a little bit of a, maybe artist liberty there. Do a little bit of a tree shape there. Okay, that is just getting some of the trees and the bushes and plantings and things set really nicely. And then what I'll do is we'll start picking up a little more green here. Maybe we're going to add some green like this. Green and brown mixture and cerulean blue. So we're using all the colors. Again, the same three colors: burnt umber, sap green, cerulean blue. And again, we're going to vignette this, so I'm going to leave this driveway white paper, I think. I'll come over here. I'll start doing this distant, because we're almost finished now. I'm just going to start doing some of these distant, and they're going to be kind of more blue, since they're distant hills and bushes and trees. I'll just kind of get those in like so. A little bit darker on the bottom portion of the bushes and trees over here. But then again, definitely more blue, cooler. So we always kind of say in watercolor, in painting in general, if you want to have something recede and look further, have something look like it's in the distance of your painting, you would just add some cooler colors like blue. So we're adding more cerulean blue than any of the other three colors we're using. So that's all we're doing here, really simple, just kind of adding the cooler colors to make that look like it's in the distance. Then we can use some of the darker washes underneath here at the base of those colors there, where there's shadow underneath. And then we can also, we'll let that dry a little bit, and we'll come over here. We'll kind of, when you have to use, or when you have to create larger areas of washes, it's probably good to upsize your brush so that I'll make a little bit of a darker line there, like that. So what I'll do is I'm just looking for another brush over here. Okay, I found it, number 8. So I have a number 8 travel brush, and this one is I'll put blue. Cerulean blue here. That's sort of the distant grass. I'll pre-wet the paper a little bit here. And I'll use some of that. We did add green to the cerulean blue and burnt umber. So what I'll do is just take that and then just sort of like splash like this and keep things light. Again, we're kind of vignetting this, so I'll lift up with some tissue here. I would even kind of tend to say I'll do this a little bit. Pick up some extra, little bit of texture there, like that. You can always take a little bit of liberty and add some bright color in there. Then you can blot it up a little bit just to kind of get some sap green. That can just kind of like lead the eye of the viewer into the painting, where they kind of see that really exciting like lemon yellow color, where the other colors are sort of like grayed down quite a bit. So that's an effective way to kind of add a little bit of excitement into a painting, is just creating a little bit of a really highly using some very and there's another bit of a and I'll blot that up a little bit. Over here, I just wanted to add a little bit of that bright yellow over here too. The sunlight is coming from this direction, so it is, and you can just take that yellow if you want and kind of mellow it out a little bit by just blending it. This looks like it's in shadow here. That looks good. The only other thing I would do is probably I would do this. I'm just going to add a little bit of of a plant here in this barrel type of thing here. That could add a little bit of three-dimensional quality. So I'll take some burnt umber, sap green, and cerulean blue. Pretty thick paint, no water. And just do a little bit of a... And sometimes when you do this type of thing, you know, it doesn't work out or it does work out. By doing something like this, you just try to trial and error. So we just add a little bit of this plant here. Like so. And then we add some shadow. And the shadow's a little darker there. Then we might take some and just do some, just some real subtle, you know, kind of like that. Just to get that. And I think that's fine. We might add some cerulean blue to the sky. Let's do that. Let's take a quick break. What I'll do is I'll change out the water in my water bucket so that I have some really fresh, clean water. And we'll just add some fresh, clean water to the top of this sky and then put in a little cerulean blue just to give us a nice, beautiful blue sky here. But nothing too heavy, something really, really light just to kind of add to the really nice summer kind of feel to this painting where we have lots of light, sunlight, and just that good feel of a warm, sunny day. Okay, all right, so we'll be right back to finish up with our cerulean blue sky wash. All right, so we're kind of getting to that point where everything is coming together beautifully. Now it's just getting in the sky wash, quick sky wash here. One of my favorite methods to do sky washes is I empty my water bucket and get fresh, clean water. That's critical here at this point. It depends on your sky too. If you're going to make a dark sky for your painting, well then you don't have to maybe worry about emptying out the water bucket, but this is going to be like a light blue wash for the sky, cerulean blue sky wash. So what I'm doing is I'm just dampening the paper heavier at the top, right where the top of that pencil line is up there, and then I'll just kind of lightly bring it down here a little bit, the damp brush. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be really careful. We don't want to have water flooding into our house and trees over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to outline where the trees are with a damp brush, and I'm going to outline where the house is in the chimney. So I'm going to go around the chimney with a damp brush, hoping that it's not going to leak into that too much. So I'm keeping the damp brush about 1/8 of an inch away from all the rooftop areas and the trees. So I'm leaving myself at 1/8 of an inch, like a decent amount, because I'm not familiar 100% with this paper, so I'd rather leave more room than less. Sometimes if I have other papers, I might know that I can go right up to the edge almost and I'm okay, but here I'm not sure of that. So I'm just going to leave myself a little bit of extra buffer so that I don't overestimate on how much that water is going to infiltrate, that damp, fresh, clean water is going to infiltrate into those trees in the rooftops here in the chimney. But I think this is looking good. And then I'll do the same over here. I'll go right along, dampening up an edge along these trees in the distance here, just so I don't have the water bleeding and flowing down into these trees and the tops of the roofs and these pine trees. We want to keep this water this watery wash here of the sky wash from kind of just like flowing down and just infiltrating all of our work we just did here. It wouldn't be good if that happened. So we'll just take that extra step of care and put some of a damp edge around things here, and that should be good. And now we'll go right in, get our cerulean blue with a little bit of brown in there, obviously, and a little bit of green. I would tend to say not too much green though, maybe just a tiny bit. A little bit of brown, but I would say mostly it's going to be the cerulean blue. I would even come down here and clear out a space with a paper towel. I'd rather just go with cerulean blue mostly and just a tiny bit of the other colors. But yeah, mostly like 75 to 80% cerulean blue. And that's, I think, good. And I even want more cerulean blue, pretty much straight cerulean blue. So now we make it darker at the top, like this. Darker up at these points up here, higher in the sky. And then as we come down lower, let the water do the work for you. We'll have some clouds type feeling there. You could always blot up with a little bit of tissue and paper towel to have your cloud shapes forming a little bit. And that's really kind of keeping it simple and not getting too carried away with too much paint, too much water. I'd rather just leave it light. And then I will take a little bit of the burnt umber over here, and then just put a little bit of that in the sky here, in the horizon line of the sky. Just a tiny bit of that burnt umber to warm that up a little bit here. And I just kind of blend it up into the blue area too. So it kind of all ties together. Over here, no big deal. This is kind of a quiet area of the painting. The real important, exciting parts of the painting are the actual farmhouse here. That's the most exciting part of it's the focal point. And then, all these other parts around here of the painting are supporting the beautiful shapes of all the architecture on the house, the darks, the lights. It's got a lot of excitement there. We could now, at this point, I will just take a 2-3 minute break. I want to blow dry what I have right now here so that we can continue working. We'll do a few more touch-ups here. What we can do before we take a break, let me dampen this over here. Let's get some light over here on this barrel. So what happened was we painted this barrel quickly, made it a really nice dark, but then we didn't, so I'll take a tissue and we'll make sure that we lighten that side of this planting barrel there that's got the plantings in it, like that. And that looks good. And then we can try to blend this here, this edge a little bit, so that it kind of flows right into the driveway area. Same thing with the plant here. We want to flow that planting and that little tree inside that barrel, kind of just have it kind of tie into the driveway. We can do a little bit of trim here on the house. There's some shadows and some things going on there. This is all in shadow, a lot of the house here, so we're not going to worry about it too much. I think we have enough there. We can kind of sometimes we can just, make things maybe a little bit different than what we're seeing, just so we could have the effect we want. Like I made these posts on this shed roof here, which is the porch area. I made these posts here a little darker. They look a little lighter in the photograph, but just so that they kind of stand out a little bit. And this is not really too much a shadow, like a cast shadow underneath there. This shadowing on the house over here is basically, if you can imagine, the whole house is in shadow on this side. I really don't want to confuse the light in the picture here. That can be a problem. You'll notice when you're painting that we tend to, our eyesight is very, very, it's a tough customer, Our eyesight is a tough customer because we look at everyday life all the time. We're out, we're looking at things all the time, and you can have someone that's not even interested in art at all, that's never really looked at art really so much, and they can look at a painting and they'll really look at it and go, oh, that doesn't look right, because they know their eyes been seeing something throughout their entire lives, and they would know, like, if this house is in shadow on this whole side over here, they would kind of pick up that there's something looking a little bit awkward if I had like dark shadows under the eaves of this roof over here or something like that. So as an artist, you almost have to really study diligently to just kind of make sure we're capturing all the things we need to correctly, because if we're going to be sharing our artwork and things like that and putting them in you're going to put your paintings in galleries and maybe selling your artwork online, things like that. We just have to kind of make sure our shadows are looking correct. This photograph is a little difficult. I just noticed, if you look at this photograph, you can kind of see where the light is strong on this part of the roof here. So you can and we can see that the light's really sharp and strong right over here on this part of the roof. So the light is coming across like this way. So most of this whole area of the front of this house is really all in shadow, but the light is catching a little bit in a few parts, and the sunlight's catching over here on this side of the house, on this plane of the facade of the house. So that's where I think I stretched the truth a little bit here, and I added a little more bright white paper there where this section is, to kind of make it feel like there's some light, cascading across that little bit of, so that I might be able to get away with that, but not too much of that. I can't stretch the truth too much here on this. And the same thing with some of the areas over here on the left-hand side. All right, give me a minute or two. Let me just use the blow dryer, dry this all off, and we're going to use some titanium white next. And you've seen me use this constantly on my channel. I'm always using titanium white to add some highlights to my paintings here and there, and you'll see how it's going to work great for you too. Okay, so we'll show you how to use titanium white to capture a couple little highlights here and there in your painting once you're pretty much completed with everything, all your washes are done. And let's cover that next. All right, we are almost completed. We said we were just going to do one more thing. We were going to add some beautiful highlights with our titanium white straight out of the tube. I use this technique often, and we'll see how it's going to work out. I think it's going to be just a little bit of that touches of detail that can really make this painting even better. I'm happy with this. I think it looks great. I'm sending this out to Kate. So Kate, thank you again for all the art supplies, for the paper, the paints, and all the other gear that you have sent to me. I'm going to have some further videos. We'll cover those other art supplies that you've sent out to me too, but I wanted to share this video too as well and get this started right away. And so I'll send this out to you once I'm done, and I'll have it I'll put mats on the, I'll put a mat. I have a mat over here. It looks like it's going to fit pretty good. Yep, that's going to work good there. So this mat fits perfectly on the painting. So I'll put this in the mail soon. Okay, now we're going to go to our titanium white. And I'll add a little bit of that lemon yellow. Since we used lemon yellow in the painting, it's better off maybe we use a little bit of that into the titanium white. Usually I use yellow ochre, but here since we used lemon yellow, cadmium lemon yellow, Holbein color, we'll put that into the white, and that looks fine. And sometimes too, I will take a little bit of the white and squeeze that out and add a little more of the lemon yellow, because sometimes the paint in the top of the tube gets water in it from the brush. So if you can imagine, if we're putting our brush in the top of this tube of paint, sometimes a little water gets in there, and then it gets a little bit too watery, the paint in the top of the tube. So I usually work that out by squeezing a little bit of the paint out of there, and then now I think we have a good consistency here. And then what I'll do is I'll just add a little bit of the white here to this area there. Maybe a bit there, where the light is catching. And also, where else did I want to do this? Maybe over here too, a little bit, like that. So I'm just using this titanium white with a little bit of that lemon yellow in a few spots. I also noticed I wanted to add some of the sashes of the windows. So you can add just a touch of this here where the sashes of the windows are. You can also, if you do that, you can take a tissue and maybe we don't do every one like that. Like you do a couple of them, I think is fine. So that's good. I think that's all the highlights I'm really going to do here. I think that's good. And if you think it's too much, you can always take your brush, your damp brush, and dampen up that highlight you put in there with the white, titanium white, and just blot it up a little bit. Maybe we added too many. That's fine. You can just blot up a little bit of that. Or just soften it up a little bit, like that. Maybe it's just a little bit of an indication so the viewer can see a little bit of the more details of the windows there. Okay, so we are complete now. I will take my mat here. I'll just set my mat on top of this, like so. I just want to make sure I'm... And that's what I usually do when I mat paintings. I'll kind of just move the mat around and see how much, what I have to work with here. So I have more room this way. I don't have much room up and down here. I'm kind of looking at that here, like the pencil line's there. Pencil line's there, so I'm kind of fixed to that point, and then I can just, is it going to look better if I go this way, or if I, so if I kind of look at this, I'm thinking it's going to look better. I'm not sure, let's see here. I like it, I think it's better this way, a little bit hugging this over here, like that on this side. So more room over here than bringing it this way. although it does look good this way because you can see over here past the house this way. So I think actually this is the better spot for the matting here, because you can see beyond the house. So you're almost, the house becomes closer to you here, and then you can see further in the distance. If you have both of these sides of the house, you're seeing back into the fields behind the house. So if I went this way, you're only getting half the impact of the three-dimensional quality, whereas if we go this way, then we have that other little bit of three-dimensional quality happening over here with that distant bit of trees in the background, in the back there, in the far distance. So let's keep it this way over here, and that's going to be just right, like that. All right, perfect. Thanks for watching. We're going to have a great time in going forward, creating wonderful paintings like this. I always mention, please subscribe on the right-hand side below. If you want to stay with us here, working with us on our watercolors, we're actually starting some oil paintings too. Just a little bit of dabbling into our oil painting process. It kind of ties in perfectly with watercolors. So if you're a watercolor artist and you've been painting a while, a year or two, maybe 3 or 4, or maybe if you're an old grizzled pro and you've been painting watercolors for 10 years, no reason why you can't start picking up some oil paints. They're really fun. They're easy to use. The paints we use on my channel for the oils are, you can use soap and water to wash up. It won't ruin the furniture or your clothes or anything like that. So we're really happy to be working a little bit with watercolors going forward on my channel. But we are mostly 90% watercolors here, and you'll be really, I think, happy if you're learning watercolor to kind of connect up with us here on the subscribe button below. You click on that, and you'll see all our videos coming in every week, week after week, month after month, and year after year. So see you on the next video. Thanks again to Kate. Kate, this will be in the mail very, very soon. Okay, everyone, talk to you soon. Happy painting.